Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome in the NIO ET5 Touring, the estate version of the NIO ET5. Now it's only been a couple of months that I first drove the NIO ET5 sedan, but NIO is already introducing this estate version. Now the NIO ET5 sedan is taking on competition like the BMW i4, Polestar 2, Mercedes-Benz EQE, Hyundai Ioniq 6, and of course the BYD Seal. Now this touring version really doesn't have any competition, if you ask me, because there are hardly any estate electric cars out there. Now there are a couple of them, like the MG5, the Peugeot E308 SW, the Opel Astra or Vauxhall Astra, a Sports Tour Estate, and obviously you got the Porsche Taycan, Cross Turismo and Sport Turismo. Now this ET5 is situated a little bit between the Porsche Taycan and all those other electric estates, but this car is leaning a little bit more towards the Porsche. Just like the Porsche, this car has a lot of performance, a lot of horsepower, because no matter what version you go for, this car has 490 horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque, which is just a whole lot of performance in an estate car. Now this car has a couple of drive modes, and if you press the drive mode button here in the center console, you can actually see how fast the car will do 0 to 62 miles an hour or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. So if I press on the sport button, the car will tell me it will do 5.9 seconds for a 0 to 62 miles an hour run, and if I press the sport plus button, it will tell me it will do 0 to 62 miles an hour in 4 seconds flat, which again is just incredible in an estate car. Now it might sound a little bit odd, but the car isn't actually that sporty. Now obviously in a straight line the car is that fast, but when it comes to cornering, the car is definitely not a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo or Sport Turismo or even a BMW i4 M50. But that's not what NIO is aiming for with this estate car. This is just a family-friendly estate car that is actually pretty comfortable to drive. Now there are two versions of the NIO ET5. You got the base model with the smaller battery pack, and then you got the top version with the big battery pack. Now the small battery pack has a capacity of 75 kilowatt hours, giving this car a range of 435 kilometers. If you go for the big battery pack, you get 100 kilowatt hours, giving the car a range of 560 kilometers. Now obviously in reality it's a little bit less, so I'm driving the base version with the small battery pack with 75 kilowatt hours of capacity, and this car in reality will do around 350 kilometers. Now the car can fast charge up to 135 kilowatts, and if you go for the big battery you can fast charge up to 180 kilowatts. Now 560 kilometers out of a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack isn't amazing. Now I can imagine that has something to do with the dual power setup on this car. This car has all-wheel drive, so dual motors, one motor on the rear axle, one motor on the front axle, again producing 490 horsepower, and I can imagine that the motors are quite thirsty, so to speak. Now besides fast charging, you can also swap the entire battery pack in this car. If you're not familiar with the swapping technology that NIO offers, let me quickly explain. So around Europe and especially in China, NIO has these swapping stations, and if you go to a swapping station, you can basically swap the entire battery pack in the car, and it only takes up like 3 minutes. Then let's talk practicality. Now obviously this NIO ET5 Touring offers a lot more practicality compared to the sedan version. The outer dimensions of this car are actually identical to the sedan version, so the car isn't really bigger, but of course you got a different roofline, a more continuous roofline offering a little bit more headspace in the back. Not just in the back, also here in the front, because the seats here in the front are lowered compared to the seats in the sedan version. Now obviously, luggage space in the trunk is a lot bigger compared to the sedan version. The sedan version offers 386 liters of trunk capacity. This estate version offers 450 liters. Now you wouldn't be surprised that the interior is identical to the interior of the sedan version. You still get a pretty minimalistic setup with a small rectangular digital gauge cluster right in front of you and this tablet-sized infotainment system. The infotainment system does run a new version of the Bayan infotainment system that NIO uses. It's a pretty complex infotainment system, to be honest, because there are a whole lot of functions. The layout is actually quite clear, but because there are so much options, it is a little bit difficult to find what you need sometimes. And I really like all the materials that NIO has used here in the interior. Basically everything is covered in soft material. I'm guessing it's all vegan leather. So let's quickly mention the self-help drive systems, the ADAS systems or the Autopilot system on this NIO ET5 Touring. Now this car has 3 big lumps just here on top of the car. It looks a little bit weird, a little bit funky, but all the cameras and all the LiDAR systems are integrated in those 3 lumps. For those that are not familiar with LiDAR, it's a system that is basically identical to a radar system, but it uses laser pulses. Now I have to say the Autopilot system on this NIO ET5 Touring works adequate. It's a perfectly fine system. However, it's not better compared to Autopilot from Tesla or systems from other manufacturers like, for instance, Kia or Volvo. And I'm a little bit disappointed by that because this car has all this hardware on top of the car, which other cars don't have. They have it integrated with mostly only cameras and not LiDAR. But other systems are pretty much just as good as this elaborate LiDAR system. So I'm a little bit disappointed by that. Again, it's not terrible, it works perfectly fine, but it's not better compared to ADAS systems from other car manufacturers. So that's it for this NIO ET5 Touring, the car that offers just a little bit more luggage capacity compared to the sedan version. But if we're honest, the car doesn't offer an amazing amount of luggage capacity. I mean, 450 liters of luggage capacity isn't enormous for an estate. However, that's again not what NIO is aiming for with this car. I believe themselves they call this car a lifestyle wagon, which kind of gives it away that this car isn't just about practicality, but also about, well, being cool, I suppose. And if I'm honest, the car is pretty cool. I really like the exterior design of this car, especially from the back. The car kind of looks like a Porsche Taycan, and I think that's a big compliment on this car. So that's it for this video. If you like it, give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next one.